When the government of national unity was announced that Friday, back in the winter of 2024, we were also hopeful that things were about to get better. I still remember my dad that Father's Day saying how it felt like we won the rugby again that weekend. We called my sister, who had immigrated to Oz, and told her we wouldn't be joining her down under in her nanny state just yet. And then later, that same weekend, the load shedding started up again. Only now they called it load reduction, rebranded to go along with a shiny new coalition government. And then the water ran out. It was a long winter. But still, we hoped Josie could be fixed up like Cape Town now that the same guys were in charge. The months wore on, then the years. Nothing much really changed other than the faces the excuses came from. A pipe burst here, another fixed over there, a pylon goes down there, another one gets put up somewhere else. The battles between public and private service delivery dragged on in the courts with us, the people, playing piggy in the middle, grateful for any day with both power and water. In the meantime, we all just sighed, bought our JoJo tanks, added some more solar to the roof, those who could afford it anyway. I often think about my mother's domestic worker who lives by herself and must walk a long distance to collect water for her home. And then just 2 months ago, her home was flooded because of the nearby river overflowing. Climate change is the cruelest to those who can least afford it. I've been helping her out financially without my parents' knowledge, but honestly, having a domestic worker at all is a luxury these days. We can barely afford her at all. Yet we South Africans are a patient lot. We're resilient. Even as food and petrol got ever more expensive, we made a plan. Tighten our belts, move to smaller apartments in gated communities. As foreigners, Americans, Emirates, and Europeans, emboldened by the new capital-friendly economic policy, bought up our parents' leafy family homes at bargain prices. We locals felt like tenants in our own cities, paying double tax to foreign landlords for everything from private security companies to global online schools for our kids and the high-density residential blocks we live in up above from the perpetual homeless problem growing on the streets below. The rich get richer, the poor stay poor, and the strong prey on the weak. The politicians are more interested in themselves and their petty power battles and their fancy foreign friends who they've indebted to for their IMF bailouts than any of us. Such is the way of the world. It doesn't matter who you vote for. Every time, for us, every man, it's the same story. Overpromise and underdeliver. The message is clear. We're on our own, told to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps or get even deeper into debt to pay the ever-increasing demands of taxation and the growing, yet never sufficient, welfare payments that just about keep the masses quiet and submissive. Inequality is like a cancer. It rots our national soul. Us so-called middle classes are squeezed by taxes on the one side and inflation on the other. The really poor need us. The rich feed off us. None of us trust each other. None of us have the energy to fight the system. We're too busy trying to pay rent, and to put food on the table, and keep up with our credit card payments. What a treadmill. I had dreams of starting my own business, but it's hard to compete with dirt cheap foreign imports. I ended up working as a social media manager for some American startup. That was okay for a while, earning dollars, but I got retrenched, replaced by AI, so my colleagues whispered, right after my girlfriend got pregnant. It just seemed that every year after that, we did more with less, and then soon we were doing less with less. Every job is shorter lived than the last. It didn't matter what I studied. It seemed as soon as I got the qualification, it became irrelevant. Now I'm 40 next month. My girl, my son, and I live in my parents' spare room in Sea Point. They're retired now, and I'm not sure how much longer they can afford to keep the place. They're getting old, and the medical bills keep piling up. Yeah, there's the NHI, but the waiting lists are so long. We had to pay to send my dad to Dubai last year for his colon cancer treatment. Still, I shouldn't complain. Even though work is scarce, at least I have it most of the time. I remind myself that the unemployment rate for men my age is over 40%. My sister keeps saying we should have moved to Australia with her after COVID when so many of our friends and family left, but it's too late. My parents are too old, and I don't qualify for points to get a visa either. My degrees are worthless there now. Maybe I should have become a philosopher like my brother-in-law. He's doing all right. I worry about my son and beg him to study the arts rather than the useless computer science degree I got. Elections are around the corner, and youth voter registrations are at the lowest since the birth of democracy in 1994. My teenage son has no interest in politics whatsoever and will be attending a music festival instead on that day. I don't blame him, though. I don't even think I'll bother to vote myself. In all the years that I've been voting, things have just gotten worse.